Welcome back to Hot Takes and Deep Dives, and I am here with two of my good friends. They are writers, comedians, and RHONY superfans. They are also the co-hosts of the podcast Dyking Out. Say hi to Carolyn Bergier and Melody Kamali.
Hi,
hey
Jess.
Hello.
Thanks for having us.
Are you guys ready to dyke out about, yes, RHONY, obviously. That is there were two items of breaking news this week. Number one, clearly RHONY, and also the official season 2 renewal of And Just Like That.
That's right. I was so blinded by the RHONY news that I almost forgot about And Just Like That. Excited to get into that.
It's easy to forget about And Just Like That.
I mean, you're like not a Sex and the City person, Carolyn.
No, which means I offer a very unique perspective on this show.
And I think you also, I also wanted you on here because, I mean, obviously you guys are like comedy partners and podcast partners, but what I think is interesting about this dynamic of sort of like the three of us is Melody and I made you watch A, And Just Like That, B, Real Housewives of New York.
Right.
Because this is a unique voice in the room here.
Right.
I want to hear each of your journeys with Real Housewives of New York, like how they're quite disparate.
Right.
Carolyn, you go first.
Yes, as you said, it was literally you coming on Dyking Out and talking about reality TV and talking about you were trying to say what the best season of RHONY was because I needed a starting point. Like I'm resistant to most reality TV, but then any Real Housewives, it felt so overwhelming. It's like, which city do I pick? Do I have to start at season 1? Some of these shows have over 10 seasons. That's overwhelming. And you said, RHONY, start at season 7
yeah.
and watch through 10 to see the Carole and Bethany relationship, and that will be the best way to watch it. And it was a great way to watch it. I immediately became hooked on it, and my wife saw me watching it. She's like, "What are you watching?" She maybe even likes it more. I don't know. Now it's like, you know, we're gonna have dinner. I'm like, do we want to watch our friends? Like, that's how we talk about it. Our friends. What are our friends up to?
If you're not gonna start at season 1, season 7 is the natural entry point because number 1, Bethany is returning.
Right.
So you're getting this fresh perspective. And also it's Dorinda's first season.
Yes.
And she kind of ushered in a new energy. And so I think the audience can hook onto those two people as kind of like the Greek chorus.
Yeah.
And then go from there. So I'm glad that I mean, listen, you're first in line buying Leah McSweeney's book.
Right. I know. It worked, though. It's a great strategy. And, well, per your recommendation, I haven't watched the last season of RHONY, the most recent one. And then I also haven't gone back to start from the beginning. I've seen some of it because we got my mom hooked on it, too. So when I went to go visit her, we were watching some of the older episodes, like the tennis drama, all that kind of stuff. I got into it. You know.
God. Oh, so you were watching season 1. If there was tennis drama, that was season 1.
Yeah, season 1, like Bethany before her jawline Botox. You know, I was just like, wow, this is fascinating.
So you do know who Jill Zarin is?
I know who Jill Zarin is. Yes.
Okay. Excellent. And Melody, are you like
I'm
one of me?
you.
Like
yes,
seen...
I've watched it from the beginning. Must have been 2015 that I binged it from the beginning and caught up and started watching from there. And yeah, I had been trying to convince Carolyn to watch. I was very overwhelmed with the question, where do I start? So I just kept trying to get her and just throwing the word queer and subtext, but not really knowing. And thank God you came on the podcast and said 7. And you gave Carolyn that assignment, and then you gave me Summer House, which I gobbled up. And then last time I was on this podcast, you told me you thought it was crazy that I didn't watch Vanderpump Rules. And I don't know if I'm proud to tell you, but I am on season 9 of Vanderpump Rules. I mean, think about it. I wasn't even on this podcast that long ago, and I've watched from the beginning every episode of Vanderpump Rules, I have clinical depression.
Oh, Carolyn, you want to say
Well,
something?
I just want to jump in, and Melody, when what she was trying to sell me on it, because I feel like this is very much an annoying situation I find myself in sometimes, where I'll like tell my wife something, tell her something, and she's like, and then it's like her therapist tells her, and she's like, guess what my therapist told me, and then
That's
she
exactly
like
what
finally
happened.
gets it. So Melody, I do need to formally apologize to you on the record for that. But also you're like, no, it's so queer. But I feel like even you saying that didn't prepare me for how gay RHONY is and how much repressed, like, sapphic love these women have for each other. And especially,
I mean, when we had dinner the other week, I think I broke the news to you that Carole Radziwill's best friend is in a serious partnership at this point with Samantha Ronson.
Yes, and they were all in Paris together.
Yes. Did you know that?
Carolyn told me, and then I did a little deep
Yes.
dive after that hot take.
And we reported it to our Gay Carol DM group on Twitter that we got pulled into for espousing our Gay Carol theories on a different podcast.
In a thoroughly researched group on Twitter.
No, I had no idea that there was a Gay Carol like subreddit of Twitter.
It's much smaller than like the gay Swifties. Than the people who think Taylor
what
Swift
is
is gay.
This is a segment of the population that
Yeah.
doesn't include us. I didn't even know this existed. What is this? It's like 5 people on Twitter who are obsessed with Carol maybe being gay.
we went on the gay ass podcast and just diked out about Carol, how convinced we were that she was queer, just pointed to the evidence that we normally do. We weren't prepared for a DM on Twitter because the host Eric, had tagged Carol, and this person like refreshes Carol's tagged photos on Instagram probably on a daily basis, because we immediately got that Twitter DM because she had noticed the tag from the promo post on Carol's Instagram page, and then gave us more than we were even aware of, just like extremely zoomed in pictures, pull quotes from different interviews, and just one line here from Carol's book, one line there
from her books, things from like clips from like live streams she was on, like things other celebrities said about her on like Twitch, like crazy stuff. For anybody who wants to follow this person, it's at Stevie Nicks 420 on Twitter. Their Twitter bio is bouncer at Club Carole Radziwill.
Carol's #1 fan.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's put a pin in that.
Okay. Yeah.
Perhaps we're going to circle back to it.
Okay.
Maybe we won't. Maybe we don't have a time. Maybe that's a full hour.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think you just have to hit
You
up
gotta
Stevie
get
Nicks
Stevie
420
Nicks
and
on.
she'll fill you in.
All right. So let me like quickly read the headline, because a lot of people, listen, as we know from Real Housewives themselves, and perhaps fans of the show themselves, these are not big readers. Like, housewives are known to not read the full article. They're known to just read a headline. They complain about the length of articles. So let me just quickly get everybody up to speed who may not be aware. This is a Variety article written by, I believe she's the editor-in-chief of Variety, Kate Arthur, big presence on Twitter, fellow gay, I believe.
Ooh.
I think.
I did not know.
Let me give you the headline juice here, and then we'll get into it. Okay, she writes, after a messy and low-rated 13th season of the iconic Real Housewives of New York City, which concluded in September without even holding a reunion, Bravo's Housewives Brain Trust has decided to regroup. Essentially, they are scrapping the entire cast of the Real Housewives of New York. They are going to recast it ground up, but they are also doing a second New York show with the OGs and with the OGs and like former RHONY women. Like, think of like a Kelly Ben-Simone, who's not an OG, but you get it. Now, it sounds like it won't be under the same banner. It's not going to be like, who knows what they're going to be holding, but maybe they're not holding like apples. Somebody made a joke they should be holding apple martinis. And they are referring to it internally as RHONY Throwback or RHONY Legacy. Andy didn't have a lot of conclusive information in this article, but ultimately it's a spinoff of New York. Now, out of the gate, I mean, honestly, I really should have done a word count on it, but it's gotta be like 4,000 words, and it literally says nothing other than what I just told you. But it goes on and on and on, includes an interview with Andy in which he says absolutely nothing. We don't know who won, what, where, why, how. We don't know. They're focused on doing the casting that's going to be necessary for the flagship RHONY, which, I mean, I saw something pretty wild that I sent you guys, that there's a RHONY, if you go to RHONY casting, that Instagram account, this is a Shed Media run account, which is the production company behind RHONY and Salt Lake City. It's basically just like an open casting call for like any person off the street. It didn't really give any like real qualifications. Like, I don't even know if it had the word aspirational in there, or, you know, they're just sort of like
diverse group of friends.
Yeah, we'll sort of look.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, I sent it to my friend and I'm like, it doesn't say it, but I think the criteria is a Hamptons house and you have that. So throw your hat in the ring.
What's hilarious about this account, and I was like thrown by this, they're actually doing stories where they were like, it was like an AMA, like Ask Me Anything. And I think people like started asking a lot of questions like, will you take people in Queens? She's like, yes. But a lot of people have been saying, there's been a lot of voices in the ether saying that this is Lindsay Hubbard, obviously Melody, a good friend of yours, as
one
a
of my
new
friends.
Summer House devotee. I can't explain who Lindsay Hubbard is, Carolyn, if you don't know.
Well,
but she's iconic.
I know
Just
that.
know that.
Yes. I'm semi-familiar.
The way you talked about her when you came on Dyking Out before I'd watch any of Summer House, that's what pushed me to watch it. The way you're like, I love her and you will love her. Like, you just spoke so passionately about her.
I may have said I am in love with her.
You did. So I had to know. I love her now too.
So there are a lot of fans who are like, Lindsay would be perfect for RHONY, which she would, in the same way that a lot of people used to say that Stassi and Lala would be the natural jumping off into Real Housewives of Beverly Hills from Vanderpump. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are saying now that she's with Carl, you know, in a serious relationship, like this would be the perfect moment for her to jump over to New York. So obviously this account is getting a lot of comments like that. And there's a text Insta story that literally says, quote, I'm going to read this whole thing. For the last time, like this person like fully snapped.
Yeah.
For the last time, y'all, Summer House has a cast. We are not going to be poaching theirs. And they are produced by a completely different production company and have contracts for their show. So even if we wanted them, it's not an option. So you can stop tagging them. I'm sure they're getting annoyed. Period.
I saw that. I actually saw that and was like, yeah, you can't, like, there. It's New York City. There are enough people without having to go to a show. Like, wouldn't you want somebody that you haven't already seen?
What do you guys think? I mean, you guys are writers, and like, you guys may be writing a pilot one day. Who knows? Like, I mean, like,
honestly,
hot take, the two of you should apply for the new show.
We're not aspirational.
Yeah, it like the money
they
thing.
Love you.
The money thing. I mean, I think Melody and I would do very well on a very specific kind of show. Just like depressed comedians questioning their life decisions. I think there's good material there, but First, I think the strategy is great. I think that's a good idea. We do want to see a more accurate reflection of New York City, which is, you know, people from all different backgrounds. But, you know, Melody and I maybe took a little bit of heat defending the Tampa Bay's cast because people are like, you know, there's no dark-skinned black woman. It was like, well, there wasn't one in their friends group, and it wasn't like an open casting call. This was a group of friends and they formed a show around them, and that makes for better TV than trying to pigeonhole people in out of the blue, because we saw it you know, fail with RHONY. So I think starting fresh and being like, let's just find a whole new group, but there's a lot of love for the OGs and give them their own thing, because like at what point, yeah, how much longer can we really watch Ramona? Like, how much longer can Luann, like, I enjoy them, but I would be more excited to have actually a fresh cast. I would like to see Dorinda, of course, come back. I know that Carol wouldn't come back, but like kind of like with who's like left standing at this point, I'm like, yeah, just like repackage them and give them like their OG show, and then I want to see some like new New York. I think that has potential to really be something.
Let me play devil's advocate. Do we want quantity or quality? First of all, I'm just a little concerned about the optics here. I just don't want it to seem like we're gonna have the white cast and the colorful cast. Like it seems like we're segregating RHONY a little bit. Like we're gonna have the white Upper East Side show, and then what? Like the black and brown and queer women downtown or in Brooklyn. Like, what is this going to look like? Like, what is New York? And how are we representing that, like, you know, with these two shows?
No, they'll throw in a token white person.
I was going to say, I'm sure it'll still be half white
yes,
women.
of course.
They're like, it's going to be a rainbow, but it's going to be like a very light colored rainbow.
They even talked about that in the Variety article. Like, it's, you know, we have Atlanta and Potomac, and those are like the predominantly black casts, and this won't be that. This is going to be like very diverse in that way. But I'm just still like, what? It feels, I don't know, segregation came to mind when I was reading the article. It just feels like it. Could we have fired Ramona and moved on with the show? I don't know.
A lot of people have said that. I don't think that would have fixed the core problem. Even if you take Ramona out, the problem still exists that when you introduce somebody that's in their late 30s, early 40s, I mean, I think Leah was a perfect choice. I know that now, like, Leah's controversial. The audience totally turned on Leah in her second season. This girl was like the most beloved new hire.
Yeah.
She immediately got signed to a major agency. She immediately got a book deal, which is coming out next week. The problem is that realistically, even if you find somebody great like Leah, what 36-year-old has that much to say or that much in common with Luann and Dorinda, who are like in a completely different phase of life, who are 20 years older than them? That is it happens. Listen, it happens, but I feel like a 10-year age gap is much more natural to have commonalities. Like once you hit a 20-year age gap,
yeah,
you either got to keep doing the Upper East Side thing till it spins out of control, but those people will be 70 at a certain point.
Why not a Real Housewives of Brooklyn? Have the RHONY, have the Brooklyn.
I think that would have been a good
fun.
idea.
What, they're just going to House of Yes on the weekends? Like, what?
I love it. Yeah, why not?
Just to what you're saying, too, with the age gap, because I only saw the first season of Leah, and I loved Leah, and I haven't gotten to the point where everybody is like, oh, okay, maybe she's not who we thought she was.
I think now you have permission to proceed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll proceed with
and
caution.
Then you report, proceed with caution, because I feel like now that this is happening, you need to really like see how it hit a brick wall.
Yeah. But when Leah first came on, because of the age difference, there was this thing where like everybody was like projecting their like maternal stuff, like especially like Dorinda and Leah, and then you saw that with like Ramona and Leah, and like it makes for like a very different kind of relationship with the women when they start seeing the cast member as like, oh, this could be my daughter. And that's what was happening, and it was a little bit weird.
Yeah.
I think casting the OG show, they could literally do that tonight. Cameras could be up tomorrow. This thing could be on the air by Labor Day, which it won't, because Peacock takes forever. I mean, where's the Queer as Folk reboot? Where the fuck is Girls Trip 2? Like that, like they filmed that like almost a year ago.
See how Jill Zarin does there, so we can see if we want her on Legacy cast.
I definitely want her. I don't care what happens. I think the biggest problem they're going to have with casting the new one, the RHONY Brooklyn, we'll just call it that for a second, is that yes, there's a whole wide world out there of like young people, you know, let's say us, right? I'm just making it up. Like we are sort of the demographic of what they're looking for theoretically. All these people have watched Housewives. And so they're going to run into the problem of Salt Lake City, which is that it becomes like theater of the absurd. trying to like do
Yeah, that's what I was
Housewives.
thinking when I read the article too. Like, I don't want Housewives theater. Like, Jen Shaw came in all guns blazing with Salt Lake City.
I mean, what, Carolyn? What, you going to show up in like head to toe Balenciaga? Like that's what it's like a version of you would do that.
Yeah.
When I say a version of you, I just mean like somebody our age.
Right,
You
right.
know, that has enough money. They would.
I will say I love the idea of a Bravo multiverse we're getting. This must be how Marvel fans feel. I don't know much about any of that stuff, but I'm like, yes, we've got the girls' trips, legacy, like layers to this madness. I love it.
Maybe then when you cast, and I'm just going to keep pitching this until it happens, you find people who aren't inherently like batshit crazy, and then let the RHONY machine work on them, and like the circumstances like bring out the crazy. So Jenna Lyons, again, I think would be someone like Jenna Lyons, has to have a fascinating group of wealthy and diverse friends, I would imagine, just in terms of like the line of work she's in and all the people like, and she's, I mean, you know, she went to like Jay-Z and Beyonce's wedding. Like, she has a lot of celebrity friends, so there's like a lot of great stuff there. She seems to be like a very well-adjusted person, but then, you know, put her on a RHONY style show, who knows what happens? Like, we could get some good TV there. Rather, if you get somebody who's just like a known, like messy, like instead of picking like an Amanda Bynes, who, you know, is like has issues, like don't go that route. Get people who are like more grounded and like trust that the entertainment like will happen.
Carolyn's not just like pulling Jenna Lyons' name like literally out of thin air. Like,
Okay.
Can you guys like give the context that this is actually, give the full context of like our knowledge of Jenna Lyons,
Right. Okay.
and what you guys have done with her.
So yeah, we met Jenna Lyons at the documentary screening for the Lesbian Bar Project, and Melody and I were hosting it. And funny enough, Jenna Lyons was there with Andy Cohen's assistant.
Yeah.
Darren Karp.
Yeah. Not
Whoa.
like together, but like they.
No, I know,
okay.
but okay. So this already becomes more interesting. Okay,
Right.
Go on.
So then I asked Jenna that night if she'll be on Dyking Out, and she's like, sure. I'm like, okay, this is really exciting. We do an in-person live recording at the Wing in Soho, and we're in the green room. And Melody, do you remember how we got on the topic where we landed and said you should be on RHONY?
I think we had recorded Eric's podcast, Gay Ass Podcast, and we brought it up there
Before
or
that?
we had texted
Okay.
about it a little bit. As Carolyn's getting more and more into RHONY, she's sending me dispatches, and I think we were just chatting between us, and then you brought it up on that podcast. So it was like fresh in our
Right.
minds. Early December, we did the Wing interview with her, and we were in the green room, and we just brought it up to her while we were chatting.
She got so excited. She turns to her assistant. Well, first she's like, I love that. How do we make that happen? And then she turns to her assistant. How do we make that happen? And then we're like, oh, well, we like kind of know Andy Cohen's assistant. And she's like, well, I'm friends with Andy Cohen. We're like, oh, yes, of course you are. Well, then why don't you call him and make that happen? So she was thinking that she would love to do a gay RHONY.
Yes.
And she wanted to do gay RHONY, and then we asked her like in our interview of that episode to get her like on the record saying that she would want to be part of it and to kind of start this movement. So then when we were on Gay Ass Podcast and that eventually comes out, he tags Jenna in it. Jenna sees it and like reposts it.
Yeah, a reel of
And-
us saying you should be on it, or Jenna Lyons should
Yeah.
be on it, and him agreeing. She shared it and said, how do we make this happen?
Yeah. And then I DM her and I said, call your friend Andy. And she's like, yes, I need to. I'm like, okay.
Oh my god.
So why isn't this happening? Why is there even a casting
Wow.
call? Like, Jenna Lyons is like the center of so much in New York.
She's
She
in
is one of
Soho?
the most well-connected people.
Center Apple right there.
Of course. She had her own like Stylish with Jenna Lyons show. So she's like familiar with like reality TV, a very different kind, but like with having cameras around and everything. She has like her.
It was the rich man's Big Shot with Bethany.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. That's great.
Yeah, she has her new line of eyelashes that she's working on right now that's out. So I feel like for a lot of reasons she'd be a very interesting person to.
Yeah,
to
she's
have
got her
on there.
business to promote.
For people who don't know, Jenna Lyons ran J. Crew for like 25 years.
Yeah.
Like a really long time. And now she's like an interior designer. She does all sorts of stuff. She is quite, I wouldn't call her, she's not a socialite because she's like a businesswoman. She's like a really successful
iconic New
businesswoman.
Yorker and thus perfect for RHONY.
Gay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
whole
connected.
thing. She got it all.
I mean, it just makes sense.
I think it's crazy for me, and I know a lot of people, for many, many Bravo fans, RHONY was always the crown jewel. And for it to just crash like sort of overnight is crazy. And it all goes back to Bethany. I mean, the root of this problem, by the way, is Bethany abruptly quitting when Leah was about to start her first season. Like Leah and
They
Bethany
were supposed to be on
that
together.
season.
She brought her into all of this and suggested her and then left her without an ally. And it just...
Yeah.
Well, they didn't know each other. That's a whole...
they would have been.
They didn't know
they
each
knew
other.
of each other, right? But
Yeah. Or they would have fought, and that
Right.
would have been amazing. But I think the root of the problems, well, I think it was Dorinda's raging alcohol and drug problem, allegedly. And also, more importantly, like Bethany, like leaving them, like holding the bag, which is really terrible. There was no time to cast somebody to fill a replacement. They were down a woman. Then Tinsley quit in the middle of that season. And then they went on and fired Dorinda. It's like, but also, suppose Bethany stayed. Suppose that didn't happen. Maybe we would be here anyway.
You know, I almost wouldn't be sad if they like just went with kind of the reboot all new cast and didn't try to hang on to the OG. Like at some point it would have had to have come to an end, and you could always do these like special episodes or like limited series and trips and all that fun stuff. But like to put them on Peacock.
You think it's like an insult?
I think that's insulting. I think
You know what? By
it's
the
like
way,
putting grandma in a home. I know Peacock has like great content and stuff, but like,
you know what? The existing RHONY cast found out like about an hour before it hit the press.
ooh,
Because they obviously didn't. They would obviously these fucking yentas would have talked. They immediately
Right.
would have called Page Six.
Right.
So, but anyway, any final thoughts?
some wishes for casting for the new one. You know, if you want to be more diverse, Ilaria Baldwin. You know, just bring in some culture. Well, because I was trying to think like
and an actual
who's a
Hispanic
housewife?
woman, Ilaria, and an actual Hispanic cast member.
And cast a real socialite like Anna
Oh
Delvey.
my God, Anna Delvey.
I know she would never do it, but Huma Abedin, like,
Ooh.
I want to know more about her. Like, I would love to see her in a fight. Like, being married to Anthony Weiner for that. Like, I feel like she's been like tightly wound her whole life. I'm like, let her loose. Just like give her some drinks and let her loose. Would love to see that. So those are Jenna Lyons, Ilaria Baldwin, and Huma Abedin are my.
And then maybe we bring back Carole, and I mean Carole would never do this. Is so wishful thinking. Carole, Cassandra Gay. Oh my God,
Yeah,
that was a Freudian
Freudian.
slip. That was a Freudian slip. Cassandra Gray, who was her best friend, who was married to Brad Gray, who literally ran Hollywood. He passed away, and then she suddenly started dating Samantha Ronson. Throw in Samantha Ronson. Also, they're moving to New York. Cassandra Gray and Samantha Ronson, I believe, have either moved here or will be
Okay,
moving
so they're in
here.
a throuple. Like Cassandra, Samantha, and Carole are a throuple.
Am I
That's
going to be
my
getting
new
DMs?
conspiracy.
Am I getting DMs from the
Add to the
Twitter?
group. Yeah, you need to be in the group. Breaking news, you're hearing it here first, that Carole Radziwill is in a throuple with Cassandra Gay and Samantha Ronson.
That's beautiful.
Prove me wrong.
We're all on 24/7 information overload between email, Twitter, TikTok. So it's hard to know what's real and what isn't when it comes to health and relationships. That's why I'm into this new podcast called Call Me Curious, hosted by Nikki Boyer. Every week on Call Me Curious, Nikki dives into all the things you've heard about but don't really know about, kind of like cryptocurrency. I mean, I still don't really know what cryptocurrency is. She covers topics like intermittent fasting. Is it true you can't die in your dreams? Do Ouija boards really do anything? You'll find out with Nikki and some of her friends on the podcast Call Me Curious. You can listen to Call Me Curious on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you listen. You can also listen early and ad-free by subscribing to Wondery Plus in Apple Podcasts or the Wondery app. And just like that, it's coming back, baby, obviously. I don't know why it took so long to get the renewal. It was the highest rated show in HBO Max's like history. Not that HBO Max has been around that long, but the dirty little secret about HBO is that they actually don't give a shit about ratings. Their thing, HBO, historically has always been, all they care about is being culturally relevant, like culturally in the zeitgeist. Bad or good, they just want to be talked about. Like Girls, the show Girls famously had really low ratings, but it was a cultural phenomenon. It was always talked about. It influenced things, bad and good. So that's what's happening with And Just Like That. I mean, every 5 minutes there was an article.
Let us write Che Diaz's comedy concert.
Che Diaz has to come back,
Yeah, I mean,
obviously,
how-
but then
Are
no,
you serious?
but like and fail. This is a toxic character that in the universe of the show was so celebrated and never taken to task on it. It seems like probably just like kind of fuckboy behavior. I want to see a scandal with Che. I want Che to be like canceled.
Yeah, I think Che should be Me Too'd for having sex in her coworker's kitchen.
How about that? Or just, the company elevator. I don't smoking.
Yeah.
Did you guys listen to the Writers Room podcast?
No.
Oh, you should. Well, it's more exciting when it's on week to week.
Right.
But the writers, and particularly Michael Patrick King, they think Che is great.
Well,
so Michael MPK may die on the hill of Che Diaz. But I wonder if Sara Ramirez even wants to do it again. Like Sara Ramirez may be like, I don't need this shit in my life.
Right. I mean, we did famously invite them to perform as Che Diaz on our Stonewall show and got no response, which I thought it gave me too much hope. I'm like, we didn't get an outright rejection, and usually their reps are very communicative, and there was nothing. I'm like, is this happening?
I never thought it was going to happen. Carolyn, why would they come on to be made fun of?
I really
no.
It
People
would have been a
freaked
brilliant
out. If Sara
PR move.
If Sara Ramirez showed up, people would have freaked out.
As Che Diaz,
As Che Diaz, so I was still in New Orleans at this point, and I knew that you were trying to get Sara to show up, and I told Carolyn I will fly back to attend.
That would have broken the internet. Like that's why you do it. Like Sara could have broken the internet, like been in on the joke. Everybody would have had so much fun. It would have been talked about forever. Like I really think that they missed a golden opportunity to help our star rise. But no, I think it would have been so much
fun.
to
help you.
Yeah, to help. Yeah, it was an opportunity to help us. No. So what I want to ask you both, because I never watched more than like select episodes of the original series, is when they come back to a new season, what's the transition there? Is it like on L Word from season to season, it's like, oh, nothing that happened in the finale is really of any consequence when you start a new season? Like all those cliffhangers, it's like, oh, they somehow got like tied up in the off time, and now we're just like starting in this place where like the stakes from last season were meaningless. Is that what they do on Sex and the City? Like, could it be like, oh, Miranda's just like in New York at her internship. She like changed her mind on the way to LA. We didn't see any of that. Che's out of the picture. Like, is that a possibility?
It's definitely a possibility. To answer your question about Sex and the City, the fundamental difference between Sex and the City and the L Word, and also Sex and the City and Just Like That, is Sex and the City was episodic. For like by and large, I would say it's purely episodic. Yes, there were some through lines. There were storylines that were carried.
Relationships were the only,
yeah, relationships were carried through, but there were no cliffhangers.
Things would be tied up in a nice bow.
Every season started out very much like it's spring in New York.
Right.
Like it's the most beautiful day. Kind of like every season premiere of The Real Housewives of New York, actually.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I guess this season did kind of finish wrapped up, if you will accept that it's wrapped up, that Miranda is like in fact going to Los Angeles with Che for this pilot, that like nobody moves their whole life for.
Well, they didn't wrap up
pilot taping.
Miranda going to Cleveland.
Can we talk about that? I still can't get over that. How did HBO even put that on TV? Like
right.
At some point, some executive had to been like, "Hey guys, you forgot something."
Yeah. It's like somebody tore the pages out of a book and you're like, wait, huh?
Like, I don't even...
the way they use time is, I don't know.
Very, very L Word Generation QS.
Yeah. Jumping around.
How did every show just get... Like, how do these write? I mean, listen, the fact is, it's actually not the writers, just like the individual writers that are hired to be part of a writer's room. This stuff comes from the top. This is a Michael Patrick King. This is a showrunner thing.
No, we believe in Samantha Irby and her talent.
She's phenomenal. Yes, she's phenomenal. And she wrote the best episode, by the way, the one where Che fucks Miranda in the kitchen. But this sort of stuff comes from the top. Like, I think every problem on And Just Like That is I'm sorry, I love Michael Patrick King, but it's his fault that it sucked. And it's Marcia Lewis Ryan, who is the showrunner of L Word Generation Q. It is her fault that there are lapses in time. It was everything was Eileen Chaikin's fault. Like, it comes from the top, and that's I believe. I mean, do you guys know, like, in terms of you guys are writers, but like, am I right or wrong on that?
I mean, from my understanding, I've never been in a writer's room. Somebody hire me. And but yeah, like, and especially when you hear like Marja talk about it, and having like a lot of friends who are writers, like you only have so much control, and it varies wildly from show to show. And like, and sometimes too, the other thing is, like, we don't know this, or maybe we do, but like sometimes like they might have filmed like all these scenes around the Cleveland thing and just cut them. Like we learned for L Word Gen Q in the finale, there was like a whole thing between Alice and I forget her boyfriend's name.
Donald Faison.
Yeah, Donald Faison's character. Tom, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's about Tom.
Yeah. There was like this whole scene shot that had to do with
on the plane.
I think it was like on the plane or something, and they just like cut the whole thing.
But what was the content? Do you know?
They didn't say, but like that it kind of like wrapped it up. Like that it gave it. It put it in like some sort of direction, or I don't know if it ended the relationship or whatever, but like Leisha was like shocked that it wasn't included. And she said this on an episode of Pants, was like, I can't believe that whole thing we shot. I thought it was like a great scene, and it like made for this like even bigger, I don't know, it seemed like a big important piece of information, and they just like cut it from the finale. So it's like, yeah, maybe there was like a whole Cleveland thing, and they're like, you know what, just like cut it.
But that was the whole point, was her how could they
I know. I mean, it reminds me too of like Gen Q, when there was like all this like foreshadowing of like something going wrong with the poker, and you're like, well, okay, yeah, you're really like foreshadowing that this poker is gonna be problematic, like Shane's gonna get arrested, whatever, and then they do nothing with it. I'm like, the poker was all for nothing. Like, so yeah, the Cleveland thing, they're like, ooh, they're setting this up to be a disaster, and it's like,
Michael Patrick King thinks everyone watching is the problem and not the writing. Like, really adamantly. I listened to him on Homophilia, just talking about how it's all of our problems. Somehow all of us are projecting the same thing.
That interview on Homophilia
was insane.
I was like,
I missed it.
he didn't, because I tried to get him, and okay, maybe, yeah, fine, Homophilia is a bigger show, but like that interview was fucking terrible. Like nothing new was learned, like nothing interesting was asked or uncovered.
No.
Period.
Because one of them was very much like, I love it, and I have no complaints. So it didn't really, it wasn't conducive. Yes,
Matt McConkey, he then went on
I
Bitch
heard
Sesh, and in a you got, that's actually funny because the two of them are like,
they brought him to
fucking
task.
crazy.
Yeah.
At one point, he's like, "It's bad." He goes, "I love it more than Sex in the City," and they were like, "You need to be checked into an institution."
You know, I recently learned too is that Michael Patrick King, since he had also created The Comeback, had based the character Valerie Cherish off of Kim Cattrall.
I heard that there was some light influence. I can't imagine that it was fully based, but I heard that.
I'm
Wow.
really fixated on that right
Really?
now, and if anyone has any
Is
good
that interesting?
evidence they could send over, please feel free.
Listen, that's what I would ask him if he sat in this chair over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to make that happen. 'cause now I'm
Conversation.
very curious
Season
about
two,
that.
season
Yes.
2, I'll get him. Let's try to make that happen.
How is The Comeback so good?
Lisa Kudrow, I think, also. Did she? Oh, no, she didn't write it.
Okay.
I've said on record that I thought he lost his mind.
I
And I feel bad. And I also went on record saying that I feel bad about that because I ran into him literally right outside my front door.
Yes, I heard that episode of yours where you talked about it.
I didn't. What
I
happened?
mean, where he said he would. I was walking Piper, and literally Michael Patrick King is standing 3 feet from me, and I'm like, Michael Patrick King, he's wearing a mask. It's the height of the pandemic again this winter. He's wearing a mask, and I still recognized him. And I told him that I loved him and what a big fan I am. And I asked him to come on the podcast, and he said, like, he was very into me. Like, he started like asking me a bunch of questions. He's like, "What do you do?" And imagine the humiliation, me having to answer, "I'm a podcaster."
It's my least favorite thing in the world.
know.
And I said, "I would love to interview you." And then he gave me his people's like contact information. And he seemed like, he's like, "Tell me the name of the show again." Like it really seemed like, so who knows if it probably never even got to him.
Like how embarrassing does it always feel when someone's like, "What do you do?" And you're like, "I'm a podcaster." But now to know that somebody would be like, "Oh, like Che Diaz," like if it could be any more.
I have been on not one but 2 dates where I don't say I'm a podcaster because, like, you guys know, listen, I have a full-time career outside of this. But when I say I have a podcast that I do on the side, and not one but 2 people's exact reactions were like, Che Diaz.
No. Yeah, it just makes it.
And then I yelled at both of those people.
No second date.
I was like, "How could you say that to me?"
Just like throw your wine on them, walk out.
That's
of
a
the
gay
restaurant.
slur. That is a gay slur now.
That's a gay slur. Oh my god. Guys, if anybody is listening to this today, you guys actually have a show tonight, Monday, March 28th at Stonewall. Yes.
Yes.
And you also have a show, what is it, every last Monday of the month?
Every last Monday of the month. And it's a lot of fun. We have mostly queer comedians, but also people that we have queer crushes on. Just hilarious comics. And sometimes we have musical guests. And it's always a fun time. And we hope.
I heard it's where Shed Media is going to scout for casting for the new RHONY.
Stop. Carolyn's face.
I was like,
Bravo Casting is going to be, they're looking for like funny, got to have somebody funny on the show. Who's going to be the next Bethany? Who will be the next Bethany?
Oh my god.
not us.
I think you guys should apply. I'm
You're
serious.
delusional. You should.
Can you just try? No, I'm not.
I'd have to rob a bank first. Like I sent it.
No, forget about
I
money.
sent it to my richest friend. Like,
Bethany had no money when it started.
really?
She was in
Hello?
the. Oh, you didn't see those early seasons.
You need to. Okay,
She's
yeah.
like
Oh,
trying
I
to
know.
sell her muffins like on a fold out table
Bethany-
in a grocery aisle, like just begging people to try her treats, and really before the business.
you see the birth of Skinny Girl. You see her create the cocktail. Like, she was nothing. She was living in a 1-bedroom tiny apartment on the Upper East Side when the show started.
Okay.
At least you have shit going on.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a lot of interesting shit going on.
And I am like I do, and I am like a kept woman. Like,
You're a wife.
yeah.
I mean, you
I'm a
have a lot.
podcaster,
I mean,
but
I'm
I'm
not going to
also
like
kept-
put that on here, but you have a lot going on.
I do have a lot going on. Maybe I will apply, because if I got on RHONY, then maybe my mom would like finally know what's going on in my life. Like, I think that'd be the only way to pull her attention.
This is going to happen. And you know Jenna Lyons. It's a natural group that exists.
I'm laughing
Yes,
at the
yes,
idea that we're
I
in
have
a group.
Jenna-
This is an organic friend group.
I'm gonna have Jenna put in a good word.
I am shaking, guys.
I'm gonna let Jenna know I'm applying and be like, "Psst, can you
Text your friend.
All right. Guys, tell everybody about Dyking Out and where they can follow you both online.
Okay.
Melody, go ahead.
Dyking Out podcast can be found wherever you get your podcasts. We're on social media at Dyking Out. Carolyn's at TGI Carolyn.
Oh, thank you. And Melody's at Melody Kamali.
you.
Guys, you can follow me, JessXNYC. Follow the show account, Hot Takes Deep Dives. And thanks, guys.
Thanks,
this was a
Jess.
blast. Listen, we have solved
Yes.
Bravo's problems. We solved so
Feels
many
good.
problems. And you guys should probably be in the writers' rooms for And Just Like That. Could you imagine that crossover? That's your day job. You're writing the second season of And Just Like That, and they're capturing it for the Real Housewives of New York. What could be more
Listen,
fucking interesting?
after watching, no offense to the writers, but after watching last season, I do believe I have what it takes to
Yes.
write on that show. So thank you for that.
Yes.
And Just Like That, for helping me believe in myself
confidence.
as a writer.
Love you
you.
guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Jess.